welcome to Tiffdoesloans podcast. I'm your host, Tiffanie Phillips, and today I have Tawny Patrick at SackinStone Team with Seven Gables Real Estate. And how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for coming in and joining me today. You do work with one of my favorite teams in Orange County, so anything new, and I love just like that culture of Seven Gables, and I know personally on the SackinStone team, like just each and every one of you are always crushing the numbers and just really giving that all around like customer service to everyone. So can't wait to dive in there. And why don't you just start by telling us like how you got into real estate and, you know, kind of what led you to this journey and the SackinStone team.
Yeah. So I actually got started in real estate about 4 years ago. Okay. So it was,
2020.
2020, okay. Right as COVID was starting. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a pretty intense time to be in the real estate market. I feel like I've never really experienced a normal real estate market because since then it's just been such a roller coaster. Yeah. But my family has a background in real estate, managing even rental properties and things like that. So I kind of already wanted, even, growing up, to be a part of that world and to have my own rental properties and to do real estate. And so I kind of always knew that I wanted to do it for myself. Yeah. But then I found myself in this position where I was looking for a new career and just wanting to dive into something that would be really great for my family and for myself. And I thought, you know what, it could be a great time to get involved in real estate and kind of finally do what I've always wanted to do. And yeah, it's been a pretty amazing ride since then.
And a roller coaster.
Yes.
I started in 2022, but on the loans.
Okay.
Or 2020 also. Sorry. Not 2022. Like same year. So I totally agree. It is wild. Like we don't really know what like a normal market is.
Yeah.
Just because we've been taking all the shifts, like so many shifts that have happened in the last 4 years. But like it builds character. Like
I think it does.
Be set. Like once things kind of do go a little easier, I feel like we'll be cruising. Well,
I feel like it's made us really good at pivoting though and adapting to change because we've had to do it for the past 4 years.
Yep. And just, this past 4 years too, without the phones just going off, ringing off the hook, you've really had to lean in, to relationships. And I think that's going to be huge. And just to kind of see that later, like the people that are still in it, definitely, it wasn't just a job. Like we've been, planting seeds and just growing these relationships that we've had for the past 4 years. So now when we finally do kind of get to that, that point, I feel like if you're going to be anywhere in real estate, you just know like, okay, they've been through some weather. Yeah. Like they're here to stay. They, like they could just take it a little more. I don't know. I think we've all get a little reward getting through this market. A little bit.
Well, so many people became realtors and lenders during the pandemic.
I know.
And I feel like now we're starting to see like some of those drop off.
Just kind of drop off.
Yeah.
Well, and mine was different. Like 2020, the rates were low.
Yeah.
But I was new.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me. Like I did get some loans right away, but it was gnarly because I was still struggling selling like 2.75%. And then the next year now I'm selling like 7.5% for like 10,000. I was like, man, I would have if I came in at the time, so the business was there, but like my knowledge and I wasn't up to par.
Yeah, like, it was a sink or swim situation. Like you had to learn fast.
Yeah, But I mean, so we're here 4 years later, and when did you find the second?
Pretty early on.
Okay.
I started at Seven Gables, and then like as soon as I got there, they were like, "Hey, I want to introduce you to this team. They're looking at expanding. They haven't really added anyone in a while, but we think you could be a good fit." And so as soon as I met Lane and the team, I just felt like, this is a really good place for me to grow and to learn. And it made such a big difference starting out, having a team there to support me and to lean into. And I really owe a lot of my success to being a part of that team.
Yeah. And that's amazing too. I do know like Lane on a personal level, and I know for sure he definitely like is a great mentor and just friend.
Absolutely.
Like he's never gonna push you aside, but there are a lot of brokers or teams that were like that, and we're seeing that more now, that who didn't make it through this time of 2020. It's because they didn't have those leaders.
Well, it's not easy to find a good team.
Skills. Yeah,
it's very hard to find a good team.
I think because the culture was more different for a while, it being like everybody's independent.
Yeah.
But I think these past few years, and most of even realtors that I talk to, they have gotten together with another realtor and became partners. And I think it really, even our brokerage here, we're all independent, but like 8 months ago to a year, we have a group chat. We're all giving we're all together still, we're all giving each other quotes. We're all helping each other, like, oh, go look at here. We're educating, we're getting educated together, and we're still working through as a team and all leaning on each other.
I think that's so important because it is such a competitive business that it can be a very lonely business. Yeah. If you're constantly feel like you're competing with everyone else. But to have the team where you can really like work together and help each other and learn from each other, that makes such a big difference when you're starting out.
Yeah, 100%. And just that you don't have to be looking over, like it is, but I feel like the companies or the brokerages that like leaned into that are the ones that are still around or still just excelling.
Yeah.
And so like what kind of adjustments have you made kind of being in this challenging market that we've been in?
I feel like, we talked about it being a roller coaster and things are constantly changing. I think you have to not be afraid of the change because I've seen over the past few years, a lot of even the more experienced realtors just not be able to cope with the changes, and like even with new regulations in the market or in the industry, like people acting like it's the end of the world, whereas like no, things change and we have to adapt, and the sooner we're able to adapt and get used to these changes in the market and the industry, the more we're going to succeed and excel.
So just basically do your homework on it, and just putting all your time and energy in something that is out of your control. And
not try to avoid it either.
Don't avoid it, but like learn about it. Get your game plan, but really that's all you can do, because it's going to happen. Especially we definitely have some changes among us. I don't believe that we've talked too much. I don't think they're talking too much about anything yet, because technically, nothing's fully been started. But like, NAR settlements and market shifts and all these things. And I think it's just most, like you said, most important. Just you have to like worry about you, get that control, like whatever you can control, and then just you have to adapt, and that's really all you can do.
And there's so much fear mongering too online and in the media that like we need to be a source of education for our clients, and because they're constantly hearing like worst case scenario, like, oh, this could happen, and it's like we need to do the research, and we need to be there to educate buyers and sellers so that they're making the right decision for them and that they can make it confidently and without fear.
Yes. And first-time home buyers, so that is kind of one of your passions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like helping these first-time home buyers. So why don't you kind of like walk us through that, and like, how did you kind of find that? Like, how did that spark your passion?
So I bought my first house in 2013. Okay. Fresh out of college. My husband and I were really fortunate to be able to do that. And we kind of did it with that. We didn't know anything about buying a home. We were just like, I guess we're going to do this. And even throughout the process, I didn't really feel like I knew what was happening or what was going on. And I was like, man, now looking back at it, it was like, oh, like, I wish I would have had someone to, like, really educate me about the process and really walk me through it more. So like, luckily it all worked out great at the time, but it's so much harder now for first-time home buyers. And there are so many people, just even people that I've grown up with or went to school with, that, like, they didn't buy 10 years ago. Yeah. And now they feel like they missed the boat. And I don't think that's true. Like, I think there is still opportunity and still the ability for a lot of people to own homes, but they're scared or they don't know what to do, and they're hearing all this, fear-mongering online. And so my passion is just to be able to help people who, maybe thought they'd never be able to buy a home before, be able to make that dream a reality. Because the majority of people do want to be homeowners, but they don't know how to get there. Exactly. Yeah. And especially social media, they're constantly just seeing how hard it is. Yeah. And it is hard. It is. But it's also just like anything. Like, my clients, I try to tell them, like, look, and I walk them through too. Like, I like being there during their process. I do enjoy that as well. Like, being there on their first home, especially if it, like, took us a while to get there. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm part of the family by the end of this thing, like just texting, calling all the time, could be months that you build this relationship with, especially for first time. But it is, it's like, I think a lot of people just get really scared. That's why I kind of brought this as well, like with the podcast, to help educate and empower our new buyers right now, and let them know that it is possible. Yeah. Because credit, with all the prices going up, people just get, like, everything's looking to be more far away. Yeah. And people a lot of people have lost hope. Yep. That they're going to be able to buy a home. 100%. And it is way less affordable. A lot of people aren't making enough to buy a home in Orange County, so they're looking outside of Orange County. And I don't want people to lose hope in that dream of becoming a homeowner. Yeah. That's amazing. But no, absolutely. And we need more realtors like Tawny that will walk them through, because I don't want them to lose hope either. I have them kind of look at it as like a goal. Like, I'm a big goal setter. So it's like, I'm like, look, like, some people are going to be starting in different spots. Yeah. Some, like, if you have 800 credit and you have money in the bank, sure. Like, you're probably going to have it could be, especially nowadays, it could be a really fast, easy process. I mean, I just got one closed in like 7 days, and that was like a VA loan, So, like, we can close them pretty fast now. But if you have your credit, it's not that it's impossible. If you have lower credit, we might just need to work on things. You just need to make sure that you have a team that is willing to, explain what they need to do and stick with you while you shop. Like, yeah. And I feel like a lot of people have also lost hope on that, because they've gone online. Yeah. And that's probably their first problem, is they go online. And I used to work for a big company like that just had leads coming in. And the loan officers are like, a lot of them are new. I know I was at that time, just like thrown on the phones, you know? But it's also, they're coming from all over, and they have to like answer a certain amount of calls. So it's like you're overwhelmed, and it's just like harder to really get that full attention that like a first-time home buyer would need. Yeah. So having a good loan officer and realtor in your corner can make the difference between getting a home and not getting a home, and they're worth their weight in gold. Yep. 100%. That's why constantly I'm on here like,
Pick your team.
Yeah.
Like, it is such a difference. Like, it, especially when you have in each position. I mean, even, well, because you would be like, if I'm like the loan officer and the buyer's agent. But also when, you go and put the offer in, now we're adding on, once we get in that deal, now we're adding on like the listing agent.
Yeah.
And like as a loan officer, I always call the listing agent too, like if we put an offer in. But it's like really incredible and magical, like what you can do when we are all on the same page and we're like, even from the offer standpoint. So before you're, no contracts or anything should be written up or anything until everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Like me as a loan officer, you as a realtor, we should be like drafting that up together.
Yeah.
And then then we're calling the listing, or well, I usually call the listing agent, but just reiterating. And and then it's like so smooth. But a lot of people have not had that experience.
Yeah.
And they don't really know that that's what it should be every time.
Well, yeah, especially if it's your first time, you don't know.
Yeah. But thank you for what you're doing and just educating them and how in this market right now. So your main focus is like first time home buyers. How are you kind of guiding them in, if some of them want to wait, like if they're waiting for the rates to drop?
Yeah, sometimes I think of buying a home is kind of like having a baby. Mm-hmm. Like, you're never fully ready.
Yep. And
there's never a perfect time to buy a home.
Yep.
Like, there's always going to be a reason not to, whether the rates are high or the prices are high, or, it's, you really have to sit down and look at your finances and say, is this the right time for you?
Yep.
Because especially as a first-time home buyer, you're not going to time the market. Like,
no.
You're not going to get the one day that it's the lowest that it's ever going to be in that year. Like, do what's right for you. Have a good team behind you that can help you, and that's really how you're going to succeed.
Yep, 100%. And how are you kind of guiding your sellers? So the sellers right now, maybe if they're not wanting to list their house until maybe, is it like, are they waiting for summer or? I
think a lot of sellers, for one, a lot of them have 2%. Yeah, a lot of them have 2% interest rates.
Yep.
They don't want to get rid of that.
Yep.
Like, we're in the process of getting rid of our 2% or 3% interest rate. And like, that hurts. But at the end of the day, we, our dream house came on the market and we were like, well, at the end of the day, like, yeah, we're going to be paying more money, but this is an increase in our quality of life.
Yep.
And so selling may not be the right choice for every person. And our job is to sit down and give them all their options and say, okay, if you rent out your house, this is what it's going to look like. This is how much rent you can get for it. And, maybe that's, if they can keep their house, rent it out, and still buy the next house, like, that's great. That's ideal.
That is ideal.
But not everyone can do that. A lot of times you have to sell the house in order to have the down payment for the next place. So
that's true.
Just providing all the options for sellers and buyers.
But ideally, we try to tell them too, like, just wait 2 years. But it did get, I feel like it wasn't pitched to a lot of people back in like 2020, 21, that like, for the most part, everyone, ideally you don't want to buy your dream home the first time, right? Ideally it's like you get in the house, then in like 2 or 3 years you're going to end up refinancing or renting that out, getting into your quote unquote like dream home. But I don't think it was really pitched to them in like 2020, and now a lot of people feel like stuck.
Yeah.
Like they were kind of looking for like they wanted to do that in 2 years, and now with everything else, like that shift and what's been happening the past few years, they
and some of the people that bought in 2020 and they have these low interest rates, they physically couldn't qualify for a house at today's interest rates.
Yep.
So they are stuck.
Oh, yes. I did just see, and I kind of had one backwards a little bit, but I noticed that too. I'm like, now even what their homes are worth, like, they can't. It is tricky, but at least like we're here, educating them. You're walking them through, and I feel like that's really all we can do.
Oh yeah.
And where do you? So like, what are kind of some hold ups? And you're mainly in Riverside and Orange County.
Yeah.
So what are like some challenges that you're seeing that the buyers are running into right now?
So a lot of areas of Southern California have a similar problem.
Yep.
We've got really low inventory. There's just not a lot of houses for sale. And I mean, depending on your price point too, there's not a lot of good options out there. So low inventory. I mean, the prices are just high. Orange County is very unaffordable for a lot of people. And so a lot of people from Orange County over the past few years have moved to places like Riverside County because it was a little bit more affordable. And it still is a little bit lower in price, but those prices have risen a lot. So now, like now everywhere you go in Southern California, like it's expensive to buy a house. That just is the way it is. So, I mean, as we see those rates drop, that will increase affordability and more people will be able to buy in these areas. Yep. But we've also are going to have a lot more competition. So, and with more competition, then the prices are going to go up. So, I mean,
the prices are going to go up. And like, I've been urging them right now too. I've gotten, even last month, we got a lot of seller credits.
Oh yeah, that's deals. Really big right now. With seller credits,
deals that I had.
Yeah, sellers are covering closing costs. Yes, they're buying down the rates.
It happened. I think they were both last month for me, but one we got 10,000 initially, and then we got another like 4,000 negotiated.
Yeah,
and then on the second one, I thought that one was really good, and then on the other one, we got 10,000 initially. And then we got 8,000 negotiated. So I was like, dude, like these have been when it was really like these dream teams. I called them, when you have everybody on that angle. But I mean, there's definitely more negotiations right now, which that's what I've kind of been leaning on.
Yeah. We were not seeing seller credits like 2 years ago.
Oh, 2021.
Yeah.
They were non-existent. Maybe for the right family, if you were a veteran, I did get a little bit. They were probably the most likely to maybe get some, just because you never know with the sellers.
Yeah.
And that might just be one of those like heart things, they're going to give. But it was rare.
Yeah.
It was really rare. Like, you couldn't lean on them, but now you kind of can.
Yeah.
And I would tell them, like, as long as they're pre-approved and like they don't need it, like, just start looking, get a good real, like, work with Tawny and just see, because even if there's some type of damage in the house, they might be able to negotiate some
well,
credit.
there's a lot of things we can do. Like, one of the last offers that we just got accepted, they were one of 3 offers that the seller got.
Yep.
And we were actually the lowest in price. But we were able to close in 21 days.
And the other ones didn't have that?
The other ones didn't have that. They were either 30 days or more. And so the seller really wanted to close quickly. Yeah. So they were like, hey, they weren't even going to make us go up to like the highest offer. They were like, if you can just go up like $4,000, we'll give it to you. And we're like, oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah. Oh my God. So it's like, it's not always about price.
No.
And there are things that we can do to help you get your offer accepted without having to be the highest offer.
That is gnarly too. And when I hear that, like, why are you put honor before 30? I always tell them, like, I'm as fast as we can. So
yeah.
I'm usually starting at the 20, depending on what the loan program is.
Yeah.
I mean,
it depends. Yeah, it does depend on the program.
It does depend, because usually, like, for a VA, like I said, I just closed one, and I put on there honor before 30, because we got to send everything out. So it's the one that's like more out of our control. But I ended up talking to the listing agent. He talked me down like 8 days, and I was like, okay, but if you got to be, everybody's got to be on it, and they were, and we closed way earlier than expected. But I feel like that's a big one, and I'm surprised that wasn't like more rebutted with like the date. Like, I wouldn't even see. They didn't
even go back to the other buyers,
That's
really.
amazing.
They were just like, all right, you said you can do 21.
And, really,
and that was because, we had a lender that could do that.
Yep. And you just never know. Because I've even won a deal for a client because the loan officer, answered my phone.
Yeah.
I didn't even call them. I do get in the habit of calling the listing agents, but I hadn't called them yet because I like to give them a couple of hours. And they called, they had 13, it was like something crazy, like 13 to, this is back in like 21, 13 to like 17 offers.
Wow, yeah.
And none of the loan officers answered. I was the only one, and mine was like an FHA deal, and they won. My clients won.
It's amazing what picking up the phone will do.
Yeah, because I answered. So it really, I think like that's the number one. Pick your team. I'm always telling people. And okay, so final question here. Just Tawny, what do you see for the rest of this year, like it unfolding? I know we don't have like a crystal ball, but
man, I wish we did. Yeah. I feel like
can we see it?
We can do the best to guess and predict what's going to happen. At the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. Like, and if anyone tells you that they know what's going to happen, they're lying to you. But
they don't know.
I mean, I've been hearing a lot. I mean, you would know more about this than I would. That, I mean, hopefully we're going to see some moderate rate decreases until, the end of the year. So I'm really hoping to see that.
That one we could probably lean a little more towards, just because that's more like a history thing.
Yes,
like we are coming up on election, election year. We're already close. Like we're in July, so it's already close. Some of the top, like one of the CEOs of like a really big lender that we work with, they kind of think like that September, right before, I think elections like November, so right kind of around there. So we probably have a higher chance of that happening just because of everything else going on.
I do think it is going to be pretty slow around the election time, just because people it feels like buyers are a little more skittish right now. People don't really want to take risks. They don't know what's going to happen. So I think this winter's probably going to be pretty slow.
Unless they just do that drop. See, I've been telling them
until they do. I mean, I guess if the drop is sizable enough, then.
like if you want to chill during like winter or what have you, and I usually tell my clients like, let's just be ready though. Yeah. Because if they do that big drop, or you're sitting on your couch on your kids are off and you guys are hanging out, and your house pops up, and just like. Be prepared. You don't have to be like actively going out every weekend, but let's have you ready to go. And then, even during winter, I was like, and because less people are going to be out. Yeah. So you still want to be ready.
Everyone wants to buy their house in like the spring, early summer, because, kids are out of school.
See, I would be buying in winter, like get some celebrations.
Our last house, we bought it in December. No one, I mean, it's the holiday season. No one's looking.
Everybody, like
the people that are putting their house on the market in December, they are motivated. They have to sell. Like they're in a hurry. So we ended up, it was like 2021, end of 2021, I think it was. 2020, I can't remember. But it was like super busy time all year, but it was December, so no one was looking, and we ended up getting it for under asking. So like, December's a great time to buy a house.
That's what I'm thinking. And because like I don't really celebrate like too much of the holidays. Like I'll do the family party, but I'm kind of, I usually dip in those. So I would definitely be more focused at that time to when everyone's
you can get some great deals in the winter.
If not everyone's paying attention, that's when you should be paying attention.
Yeah.
So like, let's hone in there. So I usually just tell my clients, if they make that decision to hold off, like, let's just be ready, ready to go. have everything you need, and if something pops up, then we can still act fast.
Yeah.
Like, so already kind of have all their stuff in, and we'll just, ready to call it. But Tawny, I just want to thank you so much for coming in and joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
Everybody, I will have all of Tawny's information down below. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Till next time.